Hi, this is Penny Sue Donnelly, and I am your Reading SIT teacher, and I'm going to be talking to you today about vocabulary for your English language learners. Alright, the first question that we need to ask is why teach it? So research shows us that for reading comprehension, this is the single biggest determiner for how well they will comprehend what they read. And the second thing is, it's the biggest obstacle they have to being able to read well. So our goal is then to help our ELLs to develop an extensive vocabulary. So research again says that they should have about 50,000 words when they graduate high school. So based on this goal, they've got a pretty big task ahead of them. So what I did was I chose a goal. So our goal then would be to catch them up to native speakers by 3rd grade. So I chose that because that's the first year of STAR. Native speakers know approximately 10,000 words by 3rd grade. ELLs come in at pre-K knowing around 2,000 to 3,000 words by average. And so we have 4 years to teach them 7,000 words by 3rd grade. So let's break that down. That's about 1,750 words per school year. So if you're looking at 180 days per year, which includes the first day, the last day, field trip days, picture days, half days, and every other day, that means we need to teach them roughly 10 new words per day. And these are words they need to master so they can count them as part of their vocabulary. Again, we want that 50,000 word goal by the end of their public school career. So let's talk about the kind of words we need to teach them. There are 3 kinds. You're familiar with Tier 1, 2, and 3 for reading comprehension, but these are words. Tier 1 are the words that you find most often in their conversation, oral conversation. And you may think that they're very fluent simply because they can talk to each other, but that's not necessarily true. Those are basic communication skills that are the first things learned. Tier 2 words are the general academic vocabulary that you find in school texts. I gave you some examples, but think about words like predict, passage, comprehend, infer, equivalent. These are words that they'll run into all the time in regular academic text. And then the Tier 3 words are very content-specific words like photosynthesis or legislature. And these are things that they will use for a short period of time, and then they may not see again or encounter again for a year or two until they come upon that concept again. So what we want to do is make sure we teach the words that they use the most, and that would be Tier 2 words. We need to teach them these general academic words so that they will be successful in school. So here's a task for 5th grade teachers. So next I want to talk about something called collocations. And collocations are just word groups that we often put together in English. They're words that commonly come together. If students read them as a group and learn them, then their fluency increases. They learn words faster because they are learning phrases instead of single words. This is also a good activity because it helps them to learn the correct verb to go with a phrase. For example, in English we say, oh, I need to get some sleep, or I want to take a nap. So collocations helps them with that. And then here is a task for my pre-K teachers. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is teaching idioms. And idioms are something that we have to teach explicitly. There's no way for our ELLs to be able to correctly translate these or understand them literally. For example, on the back burner, you may know means that it's not a priority. It's something that can wait until later. But there's absolutely no way that an ELL can look at that and say, okay, that's having to do with a stove, but really it means it's not a priority. We've got to teach our idioms, and I'm happy to say I've seen it done, especially in Miss Murphy's class. Thumbs up to you. All right, so here's a task to my 2nd grade teachers. All right, so this is a big one. We need to teach word families using morphology. Don't worry so much about that particular word. What it means is you're going to use all the inflected endings. For example, prefixes and suffixes. It's all the things that we add to words to change them in some way. For example, you see happy. If this was the word I was going to teach, rather than teach this one single word, I'm going to teach this whole word family as though it were one word. So I've got happy, unhappy, happiness, happily, happier, and happiest. Again, it's a word family, all with the same base word, so I'm going to use that as one word and teach the whole thing. Now, this is a word that I saw being taught in a 3rd grade classroom the other day, so it would have been a really good chance to say, okay, residential means living in a place, and then introduce the other words that go along with it, reside and residing, which are verbs, and resided, and resides, and then residence and resident, which are nouns. But you can teach them all in one big lump, and then they get exposure to all of those words at one time. So, research says, by word families, we mean the basic word and all the inflected forms, all the prefixes and suffixes that you can think of to go with it. And again, you teach those word families as a single word. So want, wants, wanted, and wanting is considered to be one word. Okay? So we want to teach them 2,000 to 4,000 of these word families. And this is, according to Graves, a feasible task. And then here's a task for my 3rd grade teachers and the answers. All right. So this is something that...
Please pardon the interruption.
Okay, Kleins are something that you may not be familiar with. They are something that I came in contact with over the course of the summer in one of my classes. And I really like Kleins because they really help with, again, vocabulary in groups, sort of like the word families, and because they help with synonyms and antonyms, which, of course, we see a lot of on our testing. So Kleins are scales or spectrums of words. They go from one extreme to another, or what you can do is you can take a group of very similar words and organize them by to what extent that word represents the group. For example, on this one, I go from freezing to boiling, and those are antonyms. Cold to hot, again, antonyms on either end of this, and then room temperature or warm, which are basically synonyms. And this is a Klein. This one over here I did by basically extent of the word meaning. So I said nice looking was the least, good looking was next, attractive after that, pretty, lovely, ending in gorgeous. So these are Kleins, and again, they really help with synonyms and antonyms. All right, and here's a task for my kindergarten teachers. Okay, dictation. Dictation is another way that you can help students learn vocabulary. And dictation is a really nice activity because it combines all 4 of their literacy skills. It combines reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So the way that you would do dictation is you would write some very simple text for them using vocabulary that they know. And here's my example down here. You would show them this text. You would read it to them. And you could even read it twice, have them read with you. Then you would cover it up. And then you would read it again to them, and they would write. You would be dictating it to them. And they recommend that you show a photo like this that gives them some support during this activity. Once they're all done, you go back and you look at the model text, you read it, and you check it together for correctness after they write. And again, this one's really good because it combines reading, writing, listening, and speaking. It gives them a chance to see the words in context. All right, close activities, which you may be familiar with. So what I did was I went online and I found a sample close activity about Thanksgiving, and it didn't occur to me that ELLs may not be familiar with traditional American Thanksgiving. So these words right here may be words that they are not that familiar with. If I was going to use this close, I would need to go back and teach these words and make sure that all my ELLs knew what they were. So just be wary of that. What is their experience? What is their culture? What do they know and what do they don't? All right, so in this activity, using this close activity, notice that the blanks are where you put the words, But what you can really do as you're using this is worry less about naming the part of speech. Okay, a noun goes here. But really think more about how is the word used in the sentence. So give thanks, that's what answer would go in there. And this is a noun, and so it's at the back end of the sentence, so it comes in the object part of the sentence. And so rather than just say, okay, this is an object, or this is an adjective, or whatever it is that you may say, think about how it's used in the sentence. That is more effective for helping them to teach vocabulary than just naming the different parts of speech. So this particular activity I really like because it's good for learning vocabulary, using verb tenses because they have to be able to make the verb fit into the sentence, teaching where the parts of speech go in the sentence, and you can use this for academic words and content words. And then here's an activity for my first grade teachers. All right, this one is sentence scrambles, and this one I also really like this particular activity. What you would do is you would take a complete sentence, you would break it up into cards, and each card would have one word from the sentence or a piece of punctuation, a comma or end punctuation. And then you would give the student these words all scrambled up, and then they would manipulate these and put them into a correct sentence. And it helps you to see not only do they know the meaning of the word, but can they form a sentence with nouns as the subject, verbs in the predicate, and put adjectives in front of nouns. So it helps you to see all sorts of different things for this. But again, it also helps to see if they understand the meaning and the way it's used in the sentence. And then here's an activity for my fourth grade teachers. All right, so let's talk about vocabulary and reading. So obviously our goal is to get them to read without stopping and to increase their fluency. And remember that what makes a text difficult could be the sentence length, but it also is that students really need to know 95% of the words, sort of like our BAS test, so that they can understand. So we really want to teach them vocabulary to increase their fluency and their comprehension. And one final note, and this is a big one. In our district, we use SIOP, which is Sheltered Instruction. And SIOP means that you need to be putting in a language objective along with all of your content objectives. Now, I know this sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. It doesn't even have to be explicitly taught. But if you're teaching math and you look at words like many, much, to, these are nouns that have to do with counting. Some of them are adjectives, not nouns. And you could just bring attention to them as you are teaching. In science, you could bring attention to some word endings like fizzy or heated. And then in social studies, if you're teaching maps, you can look at capitalized words and talk about proper nouns. So it doesn't have to be explicit, but it does have to bring attention to that language feature in some way. This is part of the SIOP model. The district advocates this, and this is something that we really need to be doing. I left a quote for you, but I'm running out of time fast, so I'm going to leave that and keep going. All right, so my campus leadership team, here's a task for them. I just want to thank you for your attention and participation. All of these resources are on the one-page handout that I gave you. And here are my sources. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to come and ask me. And let's go teach some vocabulary. Thank you.